Some rich men pay girls to entertain their friends at private parties. You don't have to do anything extreme. Just look pretty, sit with them, drink, and laugh. They spray you cash. If you're lucky, one of them might pick interest in you. 2 nights later, she found herself in a hotel room with 6 other girls, wearing a borrowed dress and makeup so heavy she could barely recognize herself. Choma sat on a thin mattress in a cramped hostel room, staring at the cracked ceiling. The fan barely moved, its weak rotations doing little to fight the heat. Her stomach growled, a reminder that she had skipped lunch again. She glanced at her phone, scrolling through Instagram, her fingers trembling slightly. Her feed was flooded with pictures of Unipot's hottest slay queens. Girls with impossibly tiny waists, round hips, and faces sculpted to perfection. They flaunted designer bags, luxury cars, and expensive trips to Dubai. Their caption filled with motivational quotes about hard work and manifesting success. Chama scoffed, hard work? Which hard work? She knew the truth. These girls had one thing in common. They all had rich men funding their lifestyles. She looked down at her faded dress, the only decent outfit she had left. Her roommate Amara had already abandoned her for richer friends. Even some lecturers mocked her appearance, throwing shade at her in class when they saw her outdated Nokia phone. Her only real friend was Ezine, sweet, simple Ezine, who somehow managed to be content with life. But Choma didn't want contentment. She wanted wealth, luxury, and power. Choma, you need to stop envying these girls. Ezine had told her that morning as they walked to class. This social media life isn't real. Choma had rolled her eyes, then explained how a girl who just got admission last year is driving a Mercedes. Ezine sighed, you know how, but Choma was tired of knowing without experiencing. That night, she lay awake thinking, what if I find a sugar daddy? She wouldn't have to struggle anymore. No more hunger, no more monkery, just a few outings, some sweet words, and she could be driving the latest Benz like the others. A slow smile spread across her lips. She then made up her mind. Choma did not waste any time. She reached out to Sandra, one of the top slay queens on campus. Sandra was everything she wanted to be. Tall, curvy, and effortlessly elegant. She barely attended lectures, yet she always had money. After 3 days of pleading, Sandra agreed to introduce her to someone. You have to look the part though, Sandra said, eyeing Choma's rough edges with mild disgust. Fix your hair, get some new clothes, and make yourself attractive. No big man wants a local girl. Choma's heart sank. How could she afford a makeover when she could barely afford food? Sandra smirked as if she read her thoughts. There is a way you can get the money. You just have to be bold. Choma was desperate enough to ask how. Sandra leaned in, lowering her voice. Have you heard of walk and chop? Choma shook her head. Sandra chuckled. Some rich men pay girls to entertain their friends at private parties. You don't have to do anything extreme. Just look pretty, sit with them, drink, and laugh. They spray you cash. If you're lucky, one of them might pick interest in you. 2 nights later, she found herself in a hotel room with 6 other girls, wearing a borrowed dress and makeup so heavy she could barely recognize herself. The music was loud, the air thick with alcohol and cigar smoke. Middle-aged men, some old enough to be her father, watched them like predators. Choma forced a smile as one of them grabbed her waist. This was her entry into the world of luxury. But she had no idea what she was truly signing up for. Within weeks, Choma transformed. Her new uncle, Chief Odogu, was a wealthy businessman in his 50s. He showered her with money, bought her an iPhone, and even got her a small car. She felt invisible. She barely attended lectures anymore. Who needed a degree when she had wealth at her fingertips? But there was one problem, Ezine. Choma, what are you doing? Ezine's voice trembled with frustration. This isn't you. Choma scoffed, flipping her new Peruvian hair. Ezine, wake up. You think I'll waste my life struggling when there's an easy way? Ezine's eyes darkened with hurt. So you think selling yourself is easier? Do you even know who these men are? Choma rolled her eyes. Please, spare me the lectures. That was the last real conversation they had. Ezine walked away and Choma didn't stop her. She had no idea that she had just lost the only real friend she had. Chief Odogu was generous but controlling. He dictated what she wore, who she spoke to, where she went, and even asked Choma to get a BBL, which she did. Then came the late night calls, the odd requests, and the strange gatherings. One night, he invited her to a special meeting. She arrived at a secluded mansion and found other girls there, all nervous, all dressed in red. The air smelled of incense and something metallic, like blood. She felt uneasy. Then the ritual began. Choma's words spun. The sacrifices, the airy chants, and the whispered warnings. She was in too deep, and there was no way out. Choma sat stiffly in the dimly lit mansion, her heart pounding in her chest. The room was filled with men in flowing white robes, their faces hidden behind their dark sunglasses. A large clay pot sat in the center, emitting thick, perfumed smoke that made her dizzy. Other girls were there too, some trembling, some looking eerily calm. Chief Odogu's voice was smooth as he whispered in her ears, "You are part of the family now, Choma. You will never lack." She wanted to run. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to leave. But how could she? Odogu had bought her phone, her car, and even paid for her rent. She wasn't stupid. She knew money came at a price. Still, she hadn't expected this. A man in red robes stepped forward. "To secure your wealth, you must take an oath." Choma's throat went dry. What kind of oath?" The man smiled, revealing stained teeth. "A simple one. Drink from the pot, swear loyalty, and your riches will multiply." Choma's pulse raised. She looked at the other girls. Some were sipping the dark liquid obediently. Others hesitated. One girl, a pretty light-skinned lady in a tight dress, refused. "I am not drinking anything." Before Choma could blink, two hefty men grabbed the girl. "Take her outside," Odogu ordered. Choma did not know what happened to the girl, but the muffled scream that followed sent chills down her spine. She turned back to the pot. This is the prize. With shaking hands, she picked up the cup and drank. The warm, bitter liquid burned down her throat, and in that moment, she knew she could never live this life. Choma's life changed overnight. Money poured into her accounts. Expensive clothes, luxury vacations, a brand new apartment. She had it all, but something wasn't right. She started having nightmares. Strange shadows flickered in her room at night. Sometimes she would wake up gasping for breath, feeling invisible hands pressing down on her chest. The worst part, people around her started dying. One of the girls from the mansion was found dead in her hostel. Her body dried up like an old leaf. Another girl went missing after a private trip to Dubai. Choma tried to push away the fear. Maybe it's just coincidence until Amara, the same roommate who had abandoned her, was found dead in her car. Her tongue had been cut out. The police called it a robbery. Choma knew better. She confronted Sandra, the same girl who had introduced her to Odogwu. Sandra, what is happening? Why are people dying? Sandra just gave a chilly smile. You asked for money, didn't you? Choma's stomach twisted. That was when she realized that she had gotten herself into a deep mess. One evening, Choma's phone rang. It was Chief Odogwu. Come to the mansion now. Her hands shook as she picked up her car keys. Something didn't feel right. When she arrived, she saw them, the men in white robes, standing in a circle. And in the center of the room, bound and gagged, was Ezine. Choma's blood turned to ice. No, 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 she whispered, stepping back. Chief Odogwu smiled. Choma, you are rising fast, but wealth comes at a cost. Ezine's terrified eyes met hers, pleading silently. Choma's mind screamed. No, she's innocent. She has nothing to do with this. Odogwu stepped closer. You want to be wealthy, don't you? Then make your first sacrifice. A long curved dagger was placed in her hands. Choma shook her head violently. I can't. I can't. Odogwu's voice was cold. If you don't, you will take her place. The room spun. Tears ran down Edine's cheek. Choma's hands trembled. She thought about the money, the fame, the lottery. Then she thought about their childhood, about how Ezine had always been there for her. Her heart cracked open. With a scream, she turned the knife on Odogwu. The room erupted in chaos. Men lunged at her. She slashed wildly, adrenaline fueling her desperation. Ezine screamed, struggling against her restraint. Choma fought her way to her best friend, cutting the ropes binding her. Run, she gasped. Ezine did not hesitate. They bolted out of the mansion. The angry shouts of the cultists echoing behind them. They didn't stop running until they reached the university gates. Choma's body convulsed violently as she collapsed at the gates. Choma, Ezine screamed, catching her before she could hit the ground. Her skin felt like burning coal, her breath shallow. Students gathered around, murmuring in confusion. Some took videos, others whispering, Isn't that Choma the Slay Queen? Ezine did not care. She flagged down a taxi and rushed her to the school clinic. But the doctors were baffled. She doesn't have malaria, typhoid, or any infection we could detect, one said, shaking his head. It's almost like something is eating her from the inside. Days passed and the doctors were still unable to detect what was wrong with her. Choma barely spoke. Some nights, she would wake up screaming, clutching her chest. Other times, she would stare blankly at the ceiling, whispering names Ezine did not recognize. Ezine took her home, determined to save her best friend. For weeks, she carried Choma from one hospital to another, one prayer house to the next. But no matter what they did, Choma withered away. Her once glowing skin turned dry and ashy. Her beautiful eyes sunk deep into their sockets. She no longer had the strength to walk. Ezine begged, cried, prayed, but nothing changed. One evening, as Choma lay on the thin mattress in Ezine's small apartment, she reached for her friend's hand. Ezine held it tightly, hot tears running down her cheek. "I'm sorry," Choma whispered. "I should have listened to you." Ezine sobbed. "Don't say that, you'll be okay." Choma gave a weak smile. "No, I won't." A tear rolled down her soaking cheek. "Ezine, if you ever see any girl walking the same path I did, please warn her." Ezine's eyes were filled with tears. Choma took a deep breath. Then, with a final sigh, she was gone. Ezine buried Choma with the little money she had. She cried for weeks, haunted by the memories of their childhood, the days before greed poisoned their friendship. But life moved on. Ezine graduated with first-class honors and got a good job in a reputable firm. She built a decent life, one she and Choma had once dreamed of together. Yet, despite her success, a part of her remained broken. Every time she scrolled through social media and saw young girls chasing luxury, she felt a deep ache in her chest. One evening, as she left her office, she overheard two female interns gossiping. "I swear, if I find a rich man, I will never work a day in my life. Forget that one, these Unifor slay queens are the real bosses. Just one Dubai trip and you are made for life." Ezine's stomach twisted. She turned to face them. "Do you know what happened in Dubai?" The girls looked startled. "Who are you?" one asked. Ezine stared at them, the memory of Choma's last words echoing in her mind. "If you ever see any girl walking the same path I did, warn her." She took a deep breath. "My name is Ezine and I have a story to tell you." Ezine narrated Choma's ordeal to them and warned them about the repercussion of their choices. When they heard this, their mouths were open in shock, and they realized that not everything that was posted on social media was true. This is the end of this story. The moral lesson of this story is that greed blinds, materialism destroys, and the price of vanity is often too high to pay. Choose contentment over shortcuts. If you see someone on the wrong path, don't stay silent, speak up, you might save a life. Thank you for listening, friends. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more amazing content, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Drop a comment below, we'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't keep this to yourself. Share with friends and family. Let's keep these stories going. We love and appreciate you. See you in our next story.